About Steins. It's another one of those animes people think everybody should watch. It's ranked really highly by a lot of people, me included. It's like the cream of the cock. Damn. Fuck it, let's roll with it. Cream of the cock. For some reason I thought it was a lot older than what it really was when I watched it. It came out in 2011, which really doesn't feel that too long ago. I mean, it's only a decade, you know? Not that long if you really think about it. I thought it came out in like the mid-2000s at first. It came out only a few months before Hunter x Hunter, and it just feels a lot older. Like it came out in the era of all your Code Geasses and Death Notes. If you did a blind test and have somebody guess between the two of them, most people think Steins Gate's a lot older. I had a lot of my first anime watch with Steins Gate. Lugo had me fucked up for a while when they decided to have that gender reveal for him. Moments before Okabe said he was a guy, in the back of my mind I was thinking this character would bring the ecchi into the story. When those subtitles came on the screen and said this girl is a nigga, I went stone faced and my heart dropped. Something died in me that day, and it was also the first anime to make me feel retarded. I'll talk about it after I talk about the humor for a little bit, but if you haven't watched it yet, expect to be confused by the anime, at least once, or even a couple of times. Even in the first episode, you could see stuff that's left open-ended that's meant to confuse you, but don't drop it or anything because of that. I've seen a lot of people think about dropping it because they thought they couldn't understand it. A lot of stuff is left open-ended and confusing on purpose, especially in like the first 10 episodes. Off memory, I really couldn't tell you how exactly everything plays out in detail, because a lot of shit just overlaps with each other each episode. But little by little, you get fed pieces of the story, and then you naturally put things together and it starts to make sense. There's not a certain IQ level you need to really understand it. If you're not one of those kids in class who need an adult to supervise you throughout the school day, you're good. There was one kid in my class who was throwing a fit, cause for my podcast class he wanted to do a podcast about Bill Cosby or some shit. I mean, it was fucked up that they didn't let him go through with it, but that kid also lives in his own reality. Humor in Steins Gate is one part I think is really underrated. I don't know why, but a lot of the animes I think are funny aren't really comedy animes. Like, that's not their main thing. The only animes that are mostly comedy that I think are funny are Prison School, Gintama, Nichijou, and like 2 or 3 more I'm forgetting. Damn, that voice crack was deadly. Most of the time I'd be laughing at animes that have comedy as a smaller part of the story. The serious part of the anime is actually really good, and what most people are attracted to. Having a group trying to learn the nature of time travel is cool and everything, but the little skits and shit they throw in every now and then are really good, especially the Kyoma ones. You could tell they actually put thought into it, and don't just throw a mindless humor when they try to ease up the tension. A lot of animes can use that as a good example on how to do skit humor and not have it be shit. Not the guy getting the shit smacked out of him for walking in on a girl changing humor. And the skits don't mess up the flow of the episode. Okabe going into his Kyoma character blends in really well. Like other animes have to stop the pacing of the show to fit that skit in. That usually doesn't land at all. If anything, it progresses the story, because whenever Okabe goes into his Kyoma persona, he's trying to figure out the time machine shit. And it's also symbolic on how the mad scientist persona is everything he wishes he could be, and all that, I guess. I mostly like it because it's just funny, but that's like an added bonus onto it. If you're still watching and somehow don't know, the story is about time travel. There's really no other animes I could compare it to. Other animes I've seen that use time travel are ReZero and Summertime Rendering, but it's not the same type of time traveling. In those animes, time traveling is just a means to an end, to get whatever they're trying to get in their shows. In Steins Gate, Okabe is trying to figure out how and why this time travel stuff works. They run experiments and test theories and try to uncover it and everything, but then a lot of shit ends up happening that makes it pretty chaotic. The landlord ends up being a secret spy for some agency, Suzuha ends up being somebody from the future that's supposed to stop World War III, and she's also Hashida's kid, and somehow in one of the timelines, Luca ends up being a girl for real instead of a boy. These niggas are really trying to throw me for a loop here. Then there's all that shit with the alpha and beta timelines. It even has alternate endings for the story. A lot of shit ends up happening, so it's not surprising if you get lost in it for a bit. Steins Gate is really popular, but it's kinda surrounded by that elitist aura. Basically, the people who try to make you feel like shit if you don't understand it. I mean, by the end you should understand it. If you don't, just look at the comments of the episode. There's always that one nigga that explains everything. Steins Gate is one of those animes I end up forgetting a lot about. It's not the type of anime people talk about often, but whenever I do get reminded of it, I remember how much I fuck with the anime. Okabe is definitely one of my all-time favorite main characters. Even though he has all this crazy shit going on around him, he still feels like a grounded character. I mean, his persona is kinda quirky, but he's just a guy that ended up getting wrapped around all this time travel stuff. Kind of like Kamina in a way. Their characters are really different, but they both give off that similar energy. I guess you could say it's ahead of his time. You get it? Ahead of his time? Time travel anime? Cream of the cock? If you enjoyed, go watch some of my other shit about anime. That's all I have to say though. Peace.